Welcome and thank you for listening on the first ever podcast of the Dynamic Chiropractic with me as your host, Jack Wilson. And in this podcast, I'll be discussing all things chiropractic and more to help educate each and every one of you who listens. And we'll start off by introducing a quote by B.J. Palmer, is that we never know how far-reaching something we may say, think, or do today will affect the lives of millions tomorrow. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my good friend and fellow chiropractor, Dr. Josh Wymer.
Fantastic. Lovely introduction. I love the quote. Again, can't be a bit of quantum physics in the morning. Especially just into the afternoon, even better. Again, it's just the butterfly effect, isn't it? Whatever you do, say, makes a massive difference to everyone.
Exactly.
For example, like my chiropractor, when I saw at 14, had me into a chiropractor. And I'm sure during my next 40 odd years practicing, I'll probably make one or two chiropractors myself. I like pushing it. I think it's a great profession to be in. So why not?
Exactly. Just before we jump into it, do you want to tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, your practice, what we got going on?
Okay, so obviously my name's Josh. I'm a chiropractor. So how I got into chiropractic was actually when I was 14. I just kind of suffered with like just general back pain for like ages, and I was 14. It's definitely not normal, but I played rugby, so I assumed it was normal. But again, the normal state of the body is being healthy, no issues, no pain, just feeling great, especially when you're young, because again, it affects your whole future. But I took a little bit of nagging, essentially go get it sorted by my parents, and I ended up seeing a chiropractor, Dr. Neil Folker, fantastic guy. And if you're in Norwich and need an adjustment, go see him. But then, yeah, I just started seeing him, started out on frequent care to start with. And I essentially found a frequency what worked for myself. Again, wellness maintenance, whatever you like to call it. I always recommend find up tune-up period, works for you, best for yourself. Whether that's going to be weekly, monthly. Some people are a bit unique and they say, oh no, I like 6 months. I don't tend to recommend that because again, a lot happens even within a month. I personally get adjusted at least every week. I'm very fortunate. I've got a fantastic chiropractor for a partner. And like you said, Shannon on my name as well on the Zoom call. So Shannon's a fantastic chiropractor herself. She also does zone technique with what I do. But diving into myself as a practitioner, I do part-time in a fantastic clinic in Hungerford. Really well run. It's been there for about the last 25 years. A few different owners, and it always changes. But I have a great time there, great unique community there. More upper class wise, I'd personally say. Then I've got a practice in Stroud myself, which I'm currently in the process of finishing renovating, making it sure it's all ready to open up and help people. So I like the idea of doing two places, especially at the moment, because it gives that uniqueness. So it's not me always seeing the same type of people in and out. I know, obviously, you see people from 0 to 100, and they're all going to be different. But especially in different areas, it makes a big difference. But yeah, the main way I practice is something called zone technique. It's essentially looking at how the brain's communicating to the body. It's essentially saying when the brain's happy, the body's happy, and everything's perfect. So essentially saying your body's split into 6 different systems: the glandular system, the elimination system, the nervous system, the digestive system, the muscle system, and the circulatory system. And that tells you there's only one of 6 things that can go wrong, and it's down to one of the destruction of one of those 6 systems. Very straightforward, regardless of what you come in with, whether it's just performance issues, digestive issues, or just the general neck and back pain. Fantastic. And you see unparalleled results, in my opinion.
Awesome,
that's why I got into it. I kind of obsessed about it during lockdown, did all the free stuff for it. And then last year, I bought myself and my partner the course for it. So if you ever want a technique to do, Zone School of Healing, check it out.
Amazing. Well, yeah, we'll definitely look more into that in the future. So in regards to today's focus, today's podcast is all about what is chiropractic, and I know that there are going to be a lot of chiropractors out there with possibly their own interpretation and other schools of thought. However, today we'll be coming from a place of subluxation based chiropractic, innate, and also universal intelligence as well. And as well as that, we know that chiropractors practice differently in regards to technique, as well as using other treatment modalities such as massage, taping, or even acupuncture. And if we're talking about the spectrum of chiropractic, there is that divide between mechanistic and vitalistic chiropractic. And I know for a fact that, well, I'm not here to say that one is better than the other. I believe they both have their place within the world. However, in this profession, we're just going to keep it as close to sort of the original philosophy of chiropractic by DD and BJ. So yeah, there we go, man. I mean, in regards to chiropractic, what is it? What is your thoughts on chiropractic?
Again, my thoughts on chiropractic is always obviously unique to myself. No two people are the same. No two chiropractors are the same. But ultimately, I always go with the idea of let's get the best results, do what works for the best of the results. And that's essentially where the conversational school of thoughts kind of come in. Because everyone says, no, this is the best, that's the best. That's why I preach this, I preach that. So obviously, the main one's obviously vitalistic, mechanistic. My eyes, as long as you're doing what you believe will get the patient from A to B, meet and exceed their goals, that's the right way to approach it. Because obviously, if you believe it's, oh, I've got to do it this way to help change their life, by all means do it like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm going to be biased more towards the vitalistic side of things because it is essentially allowing your body to express its true potential. And again,
Absolutely.
you use the word self-relaxation. Again, some people hate that word, some people love it. I'm indifferent to it. I think it's great when it's understood. Quite a lot of time it's not. So for me, I tend to just use the word function or restriction or interference because it's a lot straightforward, more easy to understand. And if you can get the message across, perfect. And then with subluxation, I personally find sometimes where I used it, I don't always use it. I probably use it about 20% of the time in practice. It's slowly dropping down more and more because I've realized the less I use it, somehow the results getting better because it's more clear communication. Communication isn't always my strongest point. I'm more of a doer than a talker. Again, my partner will say the same. But it's very much you do what works for you and you tailor things to obviously specific people and how they like to work.
Yeah.
But with the school of thoughts, as I was saying, vitalistic, in my opinion, is the way to go because it's that whole health picture. I've got a great picture behind me showing all the little organs and stuff.
You do, it's fantastic.
Again, shout out to Justin from Shaping Bay. He designed this all and obviously tailored to the branding images. But it works well. Really good for communication. I can literally just point. This is where we're adjusting you today. Can you see where that nerve goes here? And again, it's allowing your body to express itself. And a brief saying I really like when it comes to actually getting people to understand, because obviously we work in the nervous system. Again, when your nervous system's hampered by obviously subluxation, dysfunction, misalignment, whatever you'd like to call it, it's going to affect how your body adapts. But the whole thing in life, we need to adapt and overcome things. It's a very simple sticker I've got at home on my desk where my TV sits. It just says adapt and overcome. It is the most simple saying ever, but I love it.
Nice.
I've kind of gone off on a tangent, but hopefully I've answered some of those points.
Yes, good. I mean, going back to communication, you made a really good point in regards to, I mean, you don't always have to use the word subluxation. And again, in the past, there is a lot of controversy around the word itself, and I completely understand that. And when communicating with a patient, you can use subluxation as long as you educate them on what it is, or if you prefer to go down the route of dysfunction or misalignment, whatever it may be. I think as long as the patient actually understands what's going on with their body and there is a miscommunication between their brain and the rest of the body, and that you're trying to either remove the subluxation or just remove the interference, then that person's body is going to be able to adapt, function, and thrive at its best. And I think a lot of it,
great.
Yeah, there we go. Try to put a little bit of thought into that. And I know that, again, not everybody's going to be on board with it. But if you're really behind the true philosophy of chiropractic and you believe in that, and you believe in that pedestal of philosophy, art, and science, then again, I'm going to be very biased, such as yourself. I'm going to be more inclined towards the vitalistic route. And the reason why is because I come from a more mechanistic background, and it's only more recently that I've actually been experiencing the benefits of a vitalistic style chiropractic practice, and the benefits that I've seen have outweighed the benefits that I've seen in a mechanistic route. And that's not to put, again, anyone else down. It's just from what I've seen from personal experience. And I believe that if, in regards to an educational standpoint for ourselves or students or past chiropractors, there seems to be this lack of education within the history of chiropractic and where it's come from. Because I don't know if you know this, but I was actually only listening to a podcast the other week with Brett Jones and Lewis from McTimoney.
Okay, yeah.
That supposedly DD like had this dream, like, as you know, he's like very spiritual. He had a dream all this like spiritual awakening from this other doctor, and supposedly that's where it all came from. But then there's no like information on this other doctor. I'd have to try and find the name of it, but it's really interesting story. So essentially chiropractic has almost come from this premise of I guess you could say not like a ghost to a certain extent, but then if you're looking back at the history of spinal health in general, I mean, even Hippocrates, his quote, "Look for the spine for better health," right? I've probably absolutely butchered.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from. That quote,
Yeah.
we had that on the wall in Hungerford, I think a couple of weeks back, and it's a great quote.
Yeah, and it just goes to show actually the relevance and its importance of the spine and how it functions in regards to everyone's health.
Yeah, just touching on what you sorry to butt in. Just touching on what you were saying about the spiritual manifestation or awakening.
Yeah.
Again, many people had it all like throughout history, and like there's loads of recordings of it. But again, I'm going to be biased towards down the zone route because that's what most of my recent education sort of been on and what I deep dive in. But Thurman Fleet, he had a spiritual manifestation where he essentially got into all that, essentially the basis of the zone techniques and how to take up his healing to a high level. So he was actually basically framed as being crazy.
Wow.
And he genuinely thought it was because he pictured future events. And then I think he was locked up in a insane asylum for a little bit, which is absolutely crazy if you think looking back at it now. But those events actually came true. So it dived into all that metaphysical realm where essentially time's an illusion. And that obviously it just, if you want to know something, it'll come to you. And that's where manifestation and stuff come in. So if you manifest something, if you keep going towards it, you'll probably end up achieving it and exceeding it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've got no doubt. And I think that'll definitely be for that's such like a deep conversation, and I love talking about that sort of stuff as well. And that's definitely going to be a conversation for a future podcast.
That's where you have a couple drinks in you and then it goes nice and chilled.
Yeah. Just the fact that what Joe Dispenza's been doing over the years is just like, work he's done is just insane if you look into it with a lot of depth. So yeah, again, it's so easy to go off track.
Yes, I've done every time I've talked, I've been off track.
It's fine. I think that one of the main confusions that we tend to face today is a lot of people associate chiropractic, and this is probably a lot to do with social media as well, but a lot to do with obviously like the actual crack, all the cavitation that takes up, that all that happens during an adjustment. It's like, a lot of people, mainly sort of like, obviously patients, they come through and they're just like, oh, you're gonna crack me today and all this sort of stuff. And then I think from there it's really important to educate them on the fact that actually the the cavitation itself doesn't have any effect on the person. As long as you get the joint moving, or if you improve the dysfunction or the subluxation, then you're good. Whether it cavitates or not, I think a lot of that might be down to placebo, in all honesty. But then the cavitation also gives the chiropractor indication that they've put enough force in and they've actually got the joint moving itself. I don't know if you'd agree on that, but
again, that's an interesting way of thinking, but I think it doesn't really matter what we believe, because it's as long as you believe it, just go with it, because then you've got that confidence behind it, and then the patient will get that confidence, and then that builds the rapport there, and then that ends up leading to the results happening. So I like telling stories when it's stuff like this, because I very much do go on the idea of, like, I do like a good crack and an adjustment. It sounds nice, it's satisfying. Patients might get that placebo effect in there as well. But probably one of my best results I've actually had, I had a lady come in, couldn't even lay down on the bench. So I couldn't really touch her too much, or was it palpate of things, and that were quite sensitive. So all I did for adjusting was literally say this was her body. I literally just rest my fingers on certain areas, because again, zone, it tells me exactly where I need to stimulate, because it's actually a spinal cord stimulation technique. So it's, you literally stimulate an area while either rubbing, pressing, adjusting. I adjust most people. Certain people you can't, because obviously certain things going on, some fusions and red flags, which you're not meant to adjust on.
yeah,
Follow the GCC rules as always.
As always.
Um, yes, as always. Got to say that because it's recorded. But yeah, so it very much shows, like, the results I've got with her. I'm actually adjusting her now, like, properly.
Oh.
I mostly do her seated, so I don't actually lay her down. So I just stimulate her spinal cord, and then I just adjust her neck. It locks everything and makes her feel fantastic. So she can move her head and everything. She was getting really dizzy, sometimes a little bit nauseous, couldn't really do too much. But we took it at a very slow pace. I normally get people on a condensed care plan, but since she was obviously quite sensitive to being adjusted and I was being seen, I was like, oh, we'll just do weekly until you're better. That's a very vague care plan, isn't it? Obviously, most people say twice a week for 6 weeks, this for that, along those lines. I did not, I'll be honest, I did not anticipate the results I'd get by literally just placing my fingers and then holding her neck like this. But each time I felt the zones at the back, at the start and end, they'd cleared. And then she'd report that she'd feel better. And obviously, I usually really big into, like, obviously, for diversify, big movements, getting those joints moving, making it those big adjustments, cool adjustments. Everyone loves them. Everyone loves a good occiput lift and things like that, or a nice side posture. But you can see things like your pelvis clears up, your neck range of motion just improves like that. And I've not actually done any mobilizations or anything like that. It's literally just holding my fingers on a point. That shows we don't need the cavitation.
No, because I think, again, going back to what you were saying, and it's a lot of it is belief in what you're doing is the right thing, and also belief in the technique, and also your own abilities as well. And if you're able to radiate that sense of belief and be able to portray it, then patients ultimately are going to believe in you as well. And if you're able to stimulate a healing factor within the patient, great. And if you're seeing improvements every session, it's working. It means their body's healing. It's adapting to the stresses that they put on it every single day. And their symptoms naturally are going to start to dissipate over time. And I know
it's amazing. That's the key bit, isn't it? It's that they're feeling better in themselves. Obviously, chiropractic we don't base on symptoms necessarily,
no.
But that's the reason people come to you. So obviously, you want to not necessarily address it, but you want them to feel better in themselves, and that is essentially chiropractic in itself. It's a way of living and a way to express their life.
Yeah, and it's important to meet the patient where they're at, because it's easy that we could go into a conversation of like, it's really important that we have this brain to body connection so that your innate intelligence can function at its best. So this isn't just about pain, but this is just about the overall health of your body. Like if you went into a lot of depth in terms of that, then I can only imagine like people are just going to be like, what's going on, right? Unless you have the odd patient which I don't know loves sort or knows about vitalistic energy and universal intelligence or even innate intelligence, right? So again, it's really meeting the patient where they're at. So even though pain isn't, or getting rid of their pain is our like ultimate goal, we want them to be as healthy as possible, and by being able to improve the function of their spine, removing either, again, whether you call it a dysfunction or subluxation, removing that and improving the communication between their brain and the body, their body has really no other opportunity other than to heal, right, and function at its best.
Yeah, and that last sentence just there, you could literally just tell that to the patient and then do what you need to do. And then
Yeah.
they're like, okay, straightforward enough. My body's going to communicate and then it's going to heal. Sweet. That's without even mentioning the innate intelligence and things like that, where the body obviously it makes itself, it can heal itself. That's
Exactly.
how I essentially explain it. Some people, not all the time, because it's a very straightforward way of saying rather than using all about innate body's again natural potential for itself to do whatever it wants.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because I was back at in Car Europe back in October, and there's a guy you have to check out. It's called Sebastian Fuentes.
Okay, yeah. I've seen him
Yeah,
on Facebook.
yeah, he's very very passionate chiropractor, and he was doing a talk, and he was just so passionate in what he was saying. He was just like shouting literally at the top of his lungs. He was like, "Power that made the body heals the body," and it was just like that, just trying to really just drill it in. And he's right. That's just an undeniable truth. And eventually that might be a conversation that you'll be able to drip feed in during table talk or whenever it may be with a patient, just to actually realize that their body is so much more than just pain, right? And again, I think that's where a lot of the confusion comes, because for example, if a patient comes to me versus I would say myself a year ago, when we were in college in our clinic year, and someone come in with one issue or they came with the same issue, it would be very much pain based, and I wouldn't talk about innate intelligence or how their body can heal. It would be very much from like a dysfunctional standpoint. It'd be very mechanistic. I'm like, okay, your hip's out of place, so this is going to be out of place, and it would just be this long old story, rather than if we correct this, your body will heal.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, no, that makes sense because obviously you're learning, you're developing, you're always going to change your ideas.
Yeah.
But the key thing on that is you got results while you were doing that, though, weren't you? That more mechanistic approach where
Yeah.
you weren't exactly where you are now. You're still getting good results. So it's essentially if the patient believes they're going to heal and get better, they'll get better. And you
Yeah,
just need to be good at what you do, and then the results will come,
absolutely. And
whether it's a week or 6 months.
yeah. And again, if you have that belief in yourself and also the technique, whether it's diversified, zone, Thompson, McTimoney, whatever it might be, if you have that belief that it's the right thing for the patient and they're going to heal, then inevitably you're going to see changes. And I think that's again another undeniable truth that chiropractic works, which is why we've been around for so long. Because if it didn't work, we wouldn't be around. And that's
Yeah,
essentially
it'd
where
be a
we
pretty
need
good
to be.
sham, wouldn't it?
It would be.
You can last 127 years talking shit and then
Yeah.
getting results.
Yeah.
I don't care if I talk shit and I get results. I'm getting results. I'd pay results when I was in pain. I don't care if it works. If you get me from where I want to be, able to do my things and live my life, perfect. Let's do a sham. Again, I wouldn't be a chiropractor if I didn't believe in it. But even if it doesn't exist, if it doesn't actually do what we want it to do, I'm getting people better, getting the people's digestions better, performing better, feeling great in themselves. Again, I say me, we're getting their body to do it.
Yeah.
Disclaimer for the GCC.
Yeah, that's the one.
So evidently it works in my eyes, but whether you will believe it's real and if it's not, that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll help people who want to be helped, and even if they don't want to be helped, we'll help them anyway.
Oh
Get the
yeah,
whole
one way or
world
another.
adjusted.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, just looking back at BJ's big idea, right?
Mm.
If
I need to read some of the the green books again.
yeah,
I
I
haven't
mean,
read them for like 3 years. I think was the
yeah,
last time I read one. I think
yeah,
that's a lie. I read one 2 years ago on my phone.
right.
Chiropractic adjuster. Yeah, because PDF file hovering around on Facebook.
Yeah, I can imagine there's loads out there, so easily accessible. But yeah, I mean, the big idea. It's like, one a small thing is someone, tripping over on a pavement, right? That's one small thing. And they might hurt their ankle, or they might fall over, you might hit their lower back, etc. But if you imagine how many times that happens per day to millions of people, right? It's just escalating the issue. But then if you imagine that one adjustment on one person could make a big difference, right? But then if you do that multiple times on multiple people, then you're just going to have a completely different world. And I truly believe,
Absolutely.
yeah, I truly believe that. And it makes such a massive difference. Like, just the amount of people that I've just said, like, you just see them relax after you adjust them. Like, they're all tense, you adjust them, and then suddenly they just melt. And it's like they're just a completely different person. And that's just, I'd love that for everyone. Sometimes, obviously,
Yeah.
chiropractic isn't for everyone. Some people just aren't on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
Maybe on the very rare occasion, there's just someone that just doesn't want to be helped.
I'd reword that and say chiropractic is for everyone, but not everyone accepts it.
Yeah, no, that's a better way of saying it. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a perfect way of saying it. Yeah, there we are, man. But we carry on, we keep going, and we adjust as many people as we can. We improve their livelihoods, their lives, so they can be happier and healthier, right?
Absolutely.
I like it. I was just going to say we've got about just under 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Just to give you a bit of a warning, because I don't want to just cancel it as we
Yeah,
go.
it's come off my
So
screen as well.
oh, it has. Oh, okay, nice. I didn't know if it was
Yeah.
coming up on yours or not. So
Getting the ropes of being on a podcast.
yeah, that's it. And it's interesting because over the years, again, and I heard this again from Brett Jones, is that we've seen this like dilution within chiropractic. It's like if you look back at all the stuff that Jim Sigafus was doing, or Reggie Gold, even DD, BJ, exactly, yeah. Like they were seeing they were seeing like patients with like horrendous illnesses, cancers, MS, etc. Like all those big time chronic illnesses, and they were seeing these people by, I think Jim Sigafus was seeing like, I don't know, something like 600 people a week or something, ridiculous
Yeah,
like that. And
I've the old school chiropractors who see like
yeah,
sometimes like a few hundred people a day, and it's like ridiculous. And then
yeah,
like something like Thurman Fleet had like streets redirected,
yeah,
had to have like police stopping traffic and things like that. They're so busy, but
yeah,
it's very much go back to DD's time and essentially the chiropractic the joint adjuster, where it's
yeah,
essentially say you adjust this bone to help this
yeah,
and that and this,
yeah. And
and it's just very straightforward.
yeah. and they were seeing people to that extent, and they were getting like amazing results. And then you fast forward to the time that present time, and there's research that comes out where it's just like, yeah, chiropractic is good for back pain, and it's just like, come on, like don't get me wrong, I generally do believe that science and research is really important within chiropractic. But to just boil it down to back or neck pain, it's just like, come on. I think deep down we know more than that.
Yeah, well, there's a time and place for research to have its role because obviously people only really care for random controlled trials. It's difficult to do with people. Everyone's unique. No
Yeah,
two people are the same. As I mentioned earlier, you cannot do a random controlled trial on unique people,
not at all.
and no
No.
one's going to report the same things exactly. People talk slightly different. I'm a lot more casual in the way I talk. That'll be different how I'll report something in my way of thinking and in my way of speaking. You'd report it on something else. Therefore, we will not match up and say this will do this, that will do that. But we might actually both experience the same thing, but we personally feel it different ways. And that's where when like the healing times and things like that, I sort of dislike, and obviously sticking obviously to the pain-based side of things, because obviously that's where most research tends to go into, because it's more quantitative on the pain quality scales. But again, that's very personalized. Because again, you talk about with women, they compare it people who have had children anyway, compare it to pregnancy. So, oh, it's bad, but it's not as bad as this. Or it's with blokes, says, oh, you can obviously, oh, we've been kicked in the nuts or something like that. So they've got the pain levels. I don't obviously talk to patients like that, but you got those pain levels which are very personalized, rather than actually being yes, this is this and that. Because you can't say 7 out of 10s you're on the floor in agony, and then 10 out of 10 you're screaming for an ambulance or morphine or something like that. They told us something like that when we were back at uni. I've forgotten what it was going to be, but I just get their rough idea and then I compare it to their opinion on their pain scales,
Yeah,
rather than actually a set framework. Because if someone says it's 10 out of 10, it's 10 out of 10 to them.
yeah,
If I start
exactly.
from the framework, they're going to say 10 out of 10 again. I'm like, okay, awesome. We'll
Yeah,
match that there, and then I see them in a week's time, and they're kind of like, oh yeah, it's only like a 3 out of 10 now. It's only niggling at me, and I was
yeah,
like, niggling for me is something sort more or less always there, but it's just constantly a little stab at you. Niggling for someone else might mean it comes and goes.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So research wise, it's very difficult.
Because pain is just so subjective, right? Yeah,
Absolutely.
and you made a perfect example of that, of how it would differ between person to person. One thing, it's just, I think before people, go down the route of, and it's completely up to their choice. But I truly believe that if, people gave, or students at least of chiropractic care, gave vitalism a chance, and looked into it with more depth and understanding, I think they would be less likely to go down the mechanistic route. Because the way I see it,
Well,
that
you
if
can
you,
even sorry,
that's what I was going
you
to say.
continue.
I was going to say, because if you're, and it's, and if you do practice any other forms and modalities, that it's not to say that you aren't a chiropractor, but for me personally, and again, this is sticking to the roots of DD, BJ, and everyone else, that if you just want to be a chiropractor, then adjust. And if you believe in that adjustment, you'll start to see that that patient doesn't need anything else. They won't need massage, they won't need stretches, they won't need taping, whatever you use, you'll find that they will improve.
Yeah, no, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Again, when the
It's
body's doing what it needs to do, it'll heal perfect.
Yeah. And again, it's not to
But
say that stuff is a waste of time, but just give it a go. Like, you spent, 4 or 5 years studying to be a chiropractor. Practice as a chiropractor.
mm, again, the whole point of vitalism is being open to the idea of the body's natural ability to heal.
Yeah.
And again, it's comes out every day. You see children being made within 9 months from next to nothing.
Yeah.
It's coming out. They grow daily, and then you see cuts on your arms heal, things like that. Your body's doing it. You're not injecting drug to cause it to heal each time you cut yourself. You're obviously just everything you do. So if you drink alcohol, you'll probably throw up. That's your body getting rid of some toxins. Your body knows what it needs to do to live perfectly. We just need to listen to it.
Absolutely. Yeah, completely agree. And it's, if you're in pain or if you have a headache and you choose to take a paracetamol, right, it's not because your body is lacking in whatever the paracetamol contains. It's pain or symptoms is an alarm system for your body to tell you that something's wrong.
Yeah, most people forget things like paracetamol, ibuprofen. That's that global effect. Don't get me wrong. There's a time and place to take it. I took ibuprofen the other day because my wisdom tooth was coming through, swelled up my side of my face. I couldn't really eat, so obviously I like my food. Probably tell. You know me well enough, so of course you do.
I do.
But I couldn't really talk too well either, and it just affected my ability to work. And I was like, okay, me taking a ibuprofen for a couple of days, 2 to 3 days, so I can help a lot of people. In my eyes, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Worse than worse. I'll agitate my gut, but I'll do other things to help with it. It's like with antibiotics, if you take those for a period, you want to be on some probiotics. 99% of people after antibiotics will not be taking probiotics. Because it won't be, more often won't be told. The amount of times I was recommended antibiotics when I was younger for random things, probably even viruses where they're not actually needed. And I didn't take any probiotics afterwards. Probably didn't even think about what probiotics are, just those little adverts on TV when we were younger.
Yeah,
the yogurts,
exactly.
This got probiotics in. Doesn't mean anything to most people.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, great example. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Just because we're in less than a minute now.
The last minute,
Yeah, we'll wrap it up.
We'll wrap it up.
Yeah, but I appreciate your time. And I know you're going to smash it once your clinic opens.
Just my window fix.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Send me some information on it. Website, social media, also the address of the clinic, and I can put that up.
Absolutely. Always happy to talk about chiropractic to anyone. It's great fun.
Yeah. Awesome, man. No worries. All right, I'll let you crack on.
All right, love you, man. Have a good day.
Yeah.